Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am the True Demon Lord, Franco, and another LGT has been and gone. So, yet again, it comes around so fast. It was another great event, as LGT always is. Got to meet loads of my mates, loads of friends, loads of like former opponents, as well as meet new people. It was amazing. This is obviously the first LGT where the channel's been around. Obviously we've had the blogs, Facebooks, we've had a name for a bit, but this is the first time that the channel's been around. And so having an increased amount of people come up to me, talk to me about demons, about the channel, was absolutely amazing. It was great meeting everyone that I did. And honestly, it makes all this worth it, you know, like me sitting here babbling to the camera about demons, because we love demons. Of course, there is no bigger demon lover in the world than me. And to be able to just sit here and babble on about that and actually have it be like some people tell me that helps them is just amazing. It's still wild to think that. So thank you very much for all the appreciation that you all show, and for everyone at LGT that came up to me and spoke to me about the channel, and etc. etc. So this LGT, obviously every year we're fighting for that #1 demon spot. We finish anywhere between 2nd and 5th. We've missed out on it every year, and it is the thing that I've really wanted to win, that #1 UK spot. ITC would also be awesome, but I know, not been in the US, how hard that can be to win. But yeah, the UK spot is the one that I've really wanted, and missing out on it every year is always a bit upsetting. This year, we probably had our best chance. Like, we've gone into LGT before trying to win it, but it was almost unfeasible. This year, there was a chance. There was a real chance. We were 20 points down, so that's not it's not exactly an easy deficit to overturn. But in one event, if there's any event you can do that in, LGT is definitely it. So we gave it a go. We really did give it a go. So, of course, Byron was meant to be on this show. Sadly, we did film this first time with Byron. Unfortunately, quality on my end just wasn't good. It was not uploadable, so had to redo it. Byron couldn't make it for the second time, so sadly, Byron will be here in spirit. As we go over our 5 games, we will also talk about Byron's, just because, again, it's relative to the #1 rankings and the race for the top. So we will be speaking about Byron's games as well. And mentioning Josh Perry, who was going into this event top of the demon rankings, and on how he got on. Obviously, I don't really know the deep inside outs of his games, nor really the scores, but we will just win or loss. So as far as the list goes, I thought the list definitely made my life a little bit harder, but also I actually enjoyed it. The keeper definitely won me over. And we'll go over bits and pieces about her and the rest of it during the games. I'm going to do a list of analysis video of it next week, where I'm going to go more deep into it, bits I would change, why I would change, etc., etc. Trying to squeeze as much content out of LGT as I possibly can, but also just so you can see my thought process on how I went into LGT with the list, and my thought process on changing it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to stick with it or not. We will see. We have the Coventry 2-day. I know I said I'm going to take a hiatus. I'm taking 3 weeks off, and then I'm back into it because now I want the ITC, but we will see. So, as far as the list goes, we were running Be'lakor still, because of course we were, and he was incredibly handy, as he always is. Won me a couple of my games. Still love Be'lakor. The Great Unclean one with the Endless Gift, because at this time, if you're going to play as competitive as you can, I just feel like you have to have him. He's amazing. The Keeper of Secrets with Soulstealer. She did have the Aegis on her as well, of course, for the 5-up pain. She was very interesting. I don't want to spoil anything, but screw it. She survived all 5 games, which was awesome. Definitely in a couple games it got a bit dicey, so she was amazing. Killing power, like, I know I said going into this, I've got to remember she's not Shalaxi. I don't actually know if I did. I can't remember if I said that in the podcast. I did record a video talking about the list. I never actually uploaded. But I know she's not Shalaxi. Unfortunately, her killing power definitely lacked a bit most of the event, but also the threat that she just possessed. People were scared of her, which was awesome. We had the mask as well. try to make her a bit more punchy, a bit tougher. Also there to help the ground clean one in the combat matchups. Didn't really get to do her thing because we didn't really go into the right matchups, but she was amazing. And then all of our fiends as well. We had 3 Nurglings, 10 Plague Bearers. I think that's standard for Demon List now, that combination. 6 Crushers who were, I'm going to say, like joint MVP alongside the Ground Clean one and Bellacore. Like I think those 3, the Grand Clean one was good and he was solid. Maybe not MVP, but the Crushers definitely were up there. They done a lot of work for me, even if just holding things down. That's what they had to do. And then we had 6 Fiends, 3 Fiends, 3 Fiends. Obviously, we've been on the 6 Fiends and making that work for a while. After LGT, that's gone. Like it just caused me more issues than actually helping me over the weekend. And I just wish I had just 3 units to 3, and then took something else, either another unit of Plague Bearers or some more small scoring bits. I don't know. But yeah, I wish I didn't have the 6-man, unfortunately. And then 3 units of 3 Screamers. We did say on the podcast, I wish I had taken a unit of Flamers instead of 1 extra unit of Screamers. So we had 2 Screamers and 1 unit of Flamers. Definitely a couple games where they would have been incredibly handy to have. But overall, I still love the Screamers. It was just for that utility into T3, right? So I'm not going to go into list changes. Might do it at the end. Might save it for the list analysis video. We'll see. So, round 1, we were going into Lee from Vanguard Tactics. So, of course, when you see Vanguard Tactics, you think, oh, I'm going into a pretty good player. He was running Crusher Stampede. The weakness matches, like, we avoided, spoiler alert, Sisters, World Eaters, those scary matchups. I personally, for me, were quite scary. I think Sisters, everyone scary because they are. But anything with like mass T10 plus, in my lists especially, wasn't going to be a fun time. I knew that I couldn't play the killing game. I was going to play the dancing around, buying down game. And so that's exactly what this was. He was running a Hive Tyrant, 3 Tyrannifexes, 2 with the big guns, the D6 plus 6 damage guns, and then 1 with spray gun, acid spray, whatever it was. 2 Exocrines, 2 Maleceptors, Trigon, which was the thing I was most scared about because it can 3-inch deep strike, meaning it can 3-inch rapid ingress. It did exactly what I thought it would. Rapid ingress, something home objective, cleared it over. Not as fast as I thought they would. Took it a couple of times to clear the backfield, which actually the Plague Bearers hanging on was pretty invaluable. And then what else he had? He had 10 Gargoyles, 10 Ormagants. I think now, and Triple Lictor. The Triple Lictor. How can I forget that? So I felt like I made this game harder than it. I feel like I played it perfect. We had an incident. Not so much me and my opponent, but there was an incident in the game that I did get a little bit annoyed at. I don't really like. I might get a bit stressy with some in like the way the game's kind of gone, but not at my opponent. It's natural, right? When some dice don't go right, when some dice, your opponent tanks some stuff, you undersell your stuff, you can get a little bit stressy. But getting legitimately angry at something during a game, very, very rare. And I did, and I'll go into it why. And then, so we were playing on Terraform, which I was like, okay, cool. He could then just triple Terraform with Lictors. He didn't, thankfully. He did Terraform on either flank with Lictors. So I basically moved up on the left side because I couldn't get to the Lictor as well, and just contested it with Screamers. And then the other side, he was up because, again, he has less of the objective behind the wall to do it on. So I charged 3 Fiends up, went behind the wall, killed it. Actually, sorry, he hadn't terraformed because I went first, but that's what I decided to do because I knew he was going to. And then he moved forward on the left flank. He's licked up, then came through to go into the Screamers. Screamers tanked him, which was awesome. And then he had a Maleceptor and a Tyrannifex on there, and eventually he terraformed with the Tyrannifex. So I knew I had to stop that. The Maleceptor on the other flank had come out, and then nothing was out in the middle. We just thinking about it as well. He had a Biofor and a Pyrofor because there was some not incidents. We got them. What I mean is like they were there, and I remembered them, right? So This is so I'm trying to go over this without going too deep into it because I don't want to bog the game down, obviously. But on the left side, so I decided to uppy down the Be'lakor, slammed him down in the middle because we got area denial. And so what I did was I threw out the crushers on his left, and they went into that objective where he was terraforming. They charged into the Maliceptor, tagged up a Tyrannofex, didn't kill it, but did so at the start. If his monsters basically at starting strength get +2 OC. So Be'lakor shot at the Tyrannofex doing terraform, knocked I think 1 or 2 wounds off it, so it knocked 2 off its OC. We then charged into the Maliceptor and another Tyrannofex, did our mortals and then some combat into the Maliceptor. I think 3 or 4 wounds off it, again knocking the OC off it, tagging up the other Tyrannofex. The fiends I had on my home objective or near my home objective moved up, charged into that lictor that was in combat with the screamers, killed it, and then piled onto the objective. So we killed off his terraform, took primary off him. On the other side, where my fiends were, they were now dead, obviously, but they'd killed the lictor. He had his Maliceptor not on the objective, but next to it. So the keeper ran up, jumped onto that, and then I moved. I had to move. I didn't have to even uppy downy them. So I just moved the Unclean on there, and he terraformed there because I just knew that he was quite far away. He was never going to be able to stop it, and then I was going to get some terraform points for the rest of the game, which was quite good. And then also out from Be'lakor, we dropped the 6 fiends in front of him. They ran forward, went into the Pyrovore and the 10 Hormagaunts. The reason we did that was to stop them coming down and touching the objective to take it, the terraformer from me, just to try and slow him down and cause him issues in his backfield. So in return, he did kill Be'lakor. I thought it was not great because Be'lakor was going to be my best chance of killing the big monsters in one go. But we took the loss because again, Be'lakor allowed me to get my things into position to bog him down, and also took heat off of other things for shooting. The Be'lakor did go down, but I thought it was a necessary trade. And then the keeper sat in combat with that Maliceptor for like 2.5 turns, but because she was on the objective, she held the objective for me, so that's fine. The Great Unclean one then, after terraform, just went straight down to his backfoot objective, grabbed onto an Exocrine, which we held that for about 9.5. And now this is where we get into a bit of an iffy moment. So I knew now that my crushers were in the way. They were bogging down that side. It was going to be a struggle for him to move over and deal with my side where I was scoring my primary, or to back to his backfield. The Trigon had rapid ingress up. That went down, multi-charged into 10 play bearers and the mask. Did proceed to split attacks. Didn't do anything to the mask because she tanked for 4 up invons. Killed a few plane bearers, but not enough to take the objective off me. So I thought that was a mistake on his part, but I was fine with it. He did bring down 10 gargoyles, which done deploy established locus. The mask went over, did a little bit of dealing with them. The keeper did shoot back into them and cleared most of them, and then she ended up finishing the rest of them. So those 6 fiends we had in his backfield, I'd gotten the Pyrovore, I'd gotten the Hormagaunts on most of them, and now I think there was like 2 of them left were back on his backfoot objective. I had some screamers that I dropped down to do. I think it was behind enemy lines. They'd moved up, killed the Pyrovore, and then put it onto his objective as well. And so going into my turn 4, I knew that I needed to auto pass the fiends battle shock on that objective, and then we were fine. Like we were going to be quite a few points ahead, and at that point fairly confident. Now this is where the issue was. I'm going to say, if you have a friend or someone you know that is currently playing a game, let them acknowledge you first. Don't come over, don't jump on them, don't put your arms around them, don't shout in their face like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Because if they're at an important point in the game, you can distract them. That is what happened to me. Someone had come up to me, someone that knew me, came up, put their arms around me, was quite loud in my face while I'm trying to do the battle shock step. So I passed my battle shock to my streamers. I'd said to myself, not to my opponent, but I had said to myself, I need to pass that fiend one automatically. While I'm doing it, I've rolled dice, knowing like I'm about to pass the fiend one, gone fiends, rolled dice, and then realized, shit, no, we don't want to do that. So my opponent said, I've got to hold you to it. You've rolled it, you failed it. It's my objective. Which is fine. Like I don't hold nothing against my opponent. It's his prerogative. But I will not lie, I was incredibly angry. And not so much at my opponent, just at the situation. I had to tell the unfortunately, I had a few people that knew me that did come over, and I had to be as polite as I could and tell them to go away, because I didn't want to be distracted anymore. But that made us 4 points down, and the game, as you'll see at the end, almost cost me the game, and I wouldn't have been happy if we had lost the game because of that. So, like I said, I don't really get angry at 40k, just a bit stressy, as natural things do when you're involved in the game. Things go a little bit sour. You can get a little bit like, oh crap, like all in your own head. But legitimately angry, not often. And this was the time that I did. Um, but like I do just want to reiterate, not at my opponent. My opponent was well within his right to hold that, which is fine, cool. I'm not going to go on about how I handle those type of things, but it is what it is. So, I was a bit like, okay, that's 4 points off us. Now we have to, like, at this point, I've got that was my breathing room. I haven't got that anymore. He'd then terraformed on the left side in round 4 and terraformed in the center. I had no spare units to stop him, which was annoying. If I had a spare unit play bearers, I had nothing, so I couldn't do it. Couldn't up be downing anything. The keeper was on the side still dealing with the Maleceptor. The ground came up with the Exocrine. We couldn't deal with it. So in round 5, I'm going to say my cards were fairly good. Like everything I was in position to score because I'd put myself in those positions to score them, but I was drawing good. Dice wise, they were average. Like I didn't have any above or below average dice. My opponent had dice. Thing is, my opponent had up and down dice, I like to call them. So no like middle ground. It was really bad. Like he rolled so many ones for things like shots and stuff like that. Also, there were some times where he was rolling, say, wounds and stuff, where they were just overachieving. So it was a weird one. My opponent decided to very heavily focus on his negative dice. Also, my opponent wanted to tell me, like, oh, you've had, like, a quote here, broken cards. He had nerfed cards. Like, my opponent still scored 36 on secondary. So, like, thinking back on it, I was like, your cards, I tried to take him out of position, and I think that's where he got caught off guard with it a bit. But yeah, so just getting that out. So going into the last round, I had capped out 84 points. And I had sabotage and recover assets. I got big sabotage, like standard recover. So I was on 84. I was looking at the score thinking, my opponent plays this right. I think he's going to win it. If I had those extra 4 points, he could not win it. So I was getting very sour. I can't lie. He drew no prisoners and assassinate, or bring it. He had bring it down / assassinate. I think it was assassinate and no prisoners. Now, he was going to get 12 points on primary. I couldn't stop that. Because he had 2 in the middle, plus 2 terraform. And then it was basically, could he come to the backfield? So in my turn, end of my turn, or his turn 4, I did up and down the fat boy and the keeper, dropped them both 6 inches away from the Trigon on my backfield, charged in and killed the Trigon, and then held my backfield. So now it was like, I have both my characters on the backfield. The keeper had like 13 wounds. The ground came on, I think, was maybe 19 if he was even wounded. So I was in like a good position on them too. They were on the backfield. And so when he drew assassination, he knew that he had to come downwards to deal with them. The only thing that really could was the Maleceptor. I don't know if he could have got any of the Tyrannifexes as actually shots on them. So he decided to get rid of no prisoners, which I thought was weird because I had 1 Screamer somewhere on the board and then 1 Fiend in his in his backfield. Now he has a strat that he can move through walls. Now it would have been, I still don't think it's as clear and cut and dry as I thought it was because the movement with it. But he essentially wanted to try and move his Tyrannifex that was the middle to the other side, to the other objective, because he could ignore terrain. But the thing is, I think he needed to roll a 6 because a 5 or less would land him on the bit of terrain in the middle, the weird little rectangle bits. So we had a little bit of a discussion on that. He then decided, okay, I'm just not going to bother with it. Decided to redraw no prisoners, which I was surprised on, and drew in to bring it down. For which, of course, he was not very happy because his bring it down assassination targets were the Unclean one and the keeper. who were on my backfield, which meant it was going to be a struggle for him to get to. I do think I think the pressure got to him a little bit. Oh, knocking the mic. Just making sure we haven't screwed it up. But I think the pressure got to him a little bit on that. So he ended up scoring nothing because he accepted he couldn't really score on it. The Maliceptor was not going to kill either of them, especially the Unclean one. So we ended up winning 84-81. It was an incredibly close game. I was a bit annoyed at myself that I'd allowed him to have a turn where he basically had double terraform and 2 objectives unmolested. Like, I couldn't do nothing about it. But like I said, I lost my breathing room with that battle shock issue. Again, I hold nothing against my opponent on that. It was his prerogative to say yes or no. I hadn't even asked him to go back. I just accepted I'd failed it. I never expect anyone to like go back or let me give me something. If they do decide to, awesome. If they don't, they don't. He didn't. He told me he wasn't going to, which is cool. But yes, so we still managed to pull it out, but that got incredibly dicey and probably not the most ideal start to the weekend, right? So I had that issue and maybe a bit of a biased recounting of the game from the other side, but it was what it was. It was great to get that first game out the way. It was a challenge, which was awesome. It got the competitive juices flowing early. So round 2, we played into one of Luke's teammates, Adam from Team Redacted, on very heavy MSU Yunari. I knew this was going to be a hard game. Adam's a very, very good player. And we're playing on Purge, so he has a lot of small units. To which I was like, okay, I can definitely get Purge points here. Oh man, did we get purged. So Purge is a weird mission, whereas like with Purge, all it takes is like just 2 or 3 extra couple saves made by your opponent, and boom, you're out of luck. And it kind of happened a little bit. So we went second. We're going second on Purge is awesome. My opponent drew Assassination, bring it down behind enemy line, to round 1, like no points there. I got engaged and recover. To be honest, this was a game of me just having myself out of position. I played incredibly badly. Adam played great as well, so that obviously didn't help. But I had myself out of position, so I knew I couldn't get engaged. But he had, I think it was unit striking scorpions in the middle. So I moved the fiends up. It's like cool. He had killed a common boy. He killed something, which got him 4 points. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Screamers, I think. So I knew I needed to get 4 points just to give. Obviously, he couldn't get kill more turn 1 because you can't anymore. But I wanted my 4 points. So we charged into the Scorpions. We had no shooting because Belloc on the Keeper just were out of line of sight. But with 3 fiends, I was like, I'm quite confident I'll get them. He proceeded to use Lightning Fast, and he had 1 guy left at the end, and I was like, oh, that's 4 points gone. Really annoying. That wasn't the first time that happened. That was the first time it happened. It's not the only time it happened. And then it was a bit of a strange game. It was very hectic, so my recounting of it is a bit weird. I'm just going to briefly give it. I decided in my turn 2 to move the Unclean one in the middle. He fell over a bit too easy, but we're not going to complain because he proceeded to do the complete opposite for the rest of the tournament, so that was fine. But yeah, so I was a bit like, okay, that's not great. And then Adam proceeded to scream me and move block me to perfection. I couldn't get out past the middle line. My Keeper was stuck. She had charged into Mandrakes, failed to kill them, so and her lack of killing power was starting to hurt me a little bit. He then fell back in a circle around her. So I was like, awesome. So now I have to up and down here to get her out of this situation. So that's annoying. In my turn 3 and 4, I put myself out of position. I could have up and down it easy. I had CP, and I literally said to myself, and I would in every situation do it. I up and down pretty much every turn. And I was like, I need to, and I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to bother. And then I drew Assassination and Containment. I was like, oh, Assassination's not great. Threw it in for Established Locus. Couldn't score either. That showed you how out of position I had myself. How does a demon player not get at least 3 points on Contain and get some kind of Established Locus? because I played it poorly, and it was like, oh no. And then the next turn I drew Sabotage, which again I had myself out of position for. A Mark for Death. We don't like Mark for Death. But oh no, sorry, we did Sabotage. We did Sabotage. We got it in turn 5. But it was a really weird one because again we missed out on I think 2 sets of kill more, again by a guy surviving or something just tanking some saves, which was annoying. But then I guess it also happened where Adam underkilled a lot and either didn't kill something or only killed 1 unit. I want to say there was a turn where he got hold more but no kill. Because we did get a couple kill mores, which was quite nice. But Adam had a turn as well in turn 4 where he just forgot to score secondaries. I think he had Containment and Sabotage. Now, when he realized, he was like, oh shit, like that's really feels bad if I lose a game now, because that's going to be like, I'm going to beat myself up over it. So I was like, okay, let's not do that. Let's see what could have done it. And then realized he had used everything that was in a position to score it to do some kind of damage, and it was all relevant damage. The other things that didn't do anything were not in position to score either. So it was like, okay, cool. Like, it's not like we could have just been like, well, that unit could have scored it. Do that. So yeah, and then at that point, I thought, okay, I might be saved by Adam's misplay here, and I might be able to pull it out, but I just wasn't able to. I played poorly. It is as simple as that. I played it poorly. Adam played it amazingly. Move, blocked, and screened the living crap out of me. And I got purged. As simple as that. I got a bit purged. You know, that mission is one that really doesn't feel so, or can be a bit feels bad. So we are 1-1 at this point. We haven't even spoken about Byron's game. So Byron's first game, he won into Knights. I think it was a very interesting game where he basically traded Rex for traded Rex for Be'lakor, killed Rex for Be'lakor, and then Rex killed Be'lakor back on the fight from death. But he'd also got the Atropos and I think a couple armages in that turn with Crushers and Shilaxi. So he knew that was a good trade, and it was a fantastic trade. And then Shilaxi got a bit diced up by the Lancer, but didn't kill her. So she ran away because she didn't want to deal with the rest of that. But he pulled that win out. And then he went into Lewis Ballington of Mind Goblins, who I've played a few times. So a very tough opponent. Dark Angels on Purge. And I think he lost that by 5 points. And it was, I can't remember the exact scenarios, but I know there was a couple, again, he'd screwed himself over by not being able to get kill more in 2 turns or kill in a couple of turns. Or, sorry, I think it was, he didn't give, like, kill more or kill. And then he'd put a unit out of position for no reason, and it gave Lewis a kill, like 4 kill points. And because of that, won the game. So we both, I guess, played poorly. I guess we were both feeling the pressure at that point. So we had both gone 1-1. Josh Parry is now 2-0. So we were like, okay, cool. Like, it's game over. We're done. We'd given up. So we were ready to like see if we could pair into each other. Like, ask the TO, can we have like a pairing into each other? And then the winner can then just go on and see how they get on. And we were told no, but if you want to forfeit your game and play each other, you can. And I think I said to Byron, like, no, let's not do that. Let's play the game. Let's get to round 5. If we've both taken at least one more loss between now and round 5, then we'll just tell our round 5 opponents, look, 100-0 win, you play each other, we want to play each other, and we'll just take the loss and play each other. All I'm going to say is thank God we didn't do that. But yeah, so going into round 3, I paired into Jack, who was running Tal. Jack, I think he said this was he'd only played 2 events at 10th. He wasn't really feeling 10th, but he played a lot. Like, did he say he played a lot at home? I can't remember. But he had triple Riptide, Storm Surge. So I was like, oh, cool, more big things that I'm going to struggle to kill. Awesome. He had 2 Piranhas, 20 Breachers, 1 Devilfish, 10 Pathfinders, a unit of Kroot Hounds, Darkstrider, who we hate with his 12-inch denial bubble. He was a dickhead. And I want to say that's it. I think he had Fireblades in his Breacher squads. So, and he had Farsight in a unit of 3 Flamer suits. So, very interesting list. He was running Monkar, which is the least scariest for me. I hate Carrion. Carrion's horrible. Retaliation card, I have to remember, but copy down his shit. But with Monkar, obviously he can get to a lot of angles because of the advance and shoot. And obviously he has lethals, but if I play it right, if I pace the game right, I can outlive that and then just go at him. So it was an interesting game. I went second. We were playing take and hold. We had 4 objectives in the middle on search and destroy. I used a unit of Nurglings essentially just to stop a scout move down the bottom from his Devilfish. Devilfish or Piranha? Sorry, Piranhas. Piranhas, I think it was a Piranha. I can't remember. I stopped some kind of scout move. He then moved the Riptide up, wheeled round, shot at the Nurglings, and that one, I had one base live on 1 wound, and that base proceeded to sit there on 1 wound for the entire game, didn't die, and tanked a bit of shots, so hero Nurglings. So I decided to play a bit passive. The Unclean one came out because he was already there to move out to the middle objective, take 1, so I wasn't giving him, because he was already on 2 anyway, 2 in the middle, 1 in the middle. Sorry, he was on 2 in the middle. The two directly in the middle he was on, plus his backfield. But I didn't want to give him 15. I gave him 10 points. So I cleared a Piranha. I killed that with the Unclean one, and then killed some Pathfinders with his Flamer. He then moved out, and so I think he shot a couple of Riptides and some Seeker missiles at the Unclean one. Took a few wounds, but nothing really. The Storm Surge wheeled round because it had obviously the advance and shoot. Now I was a bit surprised on the way he did this. So instead of shooting at the Unclean one, he decided to shoot at the 6 Fiends because they were in my backfield. But with the advance and shoot, he was able to just get within 18 of them. So I was like, well, there goes my 6 Fiends. He only killed 2 of them. He didn't roll the best, and I tanked some 5 open ones. Was like, oh, sweet. I'm not going to say the Storm Surge isn't good because we probably know his intended target. So I was just like, okay, I think I got away with that one. In my turn, then the Keeper came out. He went and dealt with stuff in the middle, killed a bunch of guys. Some stealth. Oh, sorry, he had 3 years of stealth as well because, of course, he did every Taoist does. She killed a bunch of stuff, like little. She didn't kill a bunch of stuff. She killed some stuff with shooting. She then charged into a Riptide that I had done -1 tough some with the Unclean one. And I had the Master, so she's winning on 3s with her sword and 4s with devs on her claws. Did nothing. Did absolutely nothing. Rolled 6 2s and 1s on the sword. And I think I got 1 set of claw, like 1 wound with the claws, which he saved on the 4-pin one. I was like, awesome. He's just not going to kill nothing this weekend. The Unclean one and 3 Fiends did charge into the Storm Surge and tagged that up and just whittled away at it. And we did end up getting it, I think, in 2.5 turns of combat with them lot, which was awesome. I did drop Bellicle down, remembering now I didn't even need to do that because I was still partly in my deployment zone, but it didn't matter, whatever. To spit out 6 Blood Crushers into, so he had dropped 3 suits and Farsight on right against the board edge to shoot his flamers at Screamers because he really didn't want the Screamers running around doing things. And he took like 2 wounds off 1 Screamer. And then Farsight shot into the Nurglin, and the Nurglin just tanked it. I had 1 save, and I 6-up invulned it. I was like, awesome, that Nurglin is just not going to die. The Crushers on the charge proceeded to kill 2.5 of the suits, which is like 12 wounds. I was like, go on, Crusher. They were immense for me. Like in the first game, they tagged up his Nid stuff for ages. In the Elder match, I can't even remember what they did, but I don't think they had the greatest matchup ever. But I just didn't play that right. But yeah, this was awesome. I was like, cool. But I did put Belloc in a position that he didn't need to be in. Like we said, we tagged up the Storm Surge with the Great Unclean one, and 6 Fiends chipped away at it. We bullied the Riptides with the Keepers, so he was then playing Keep away. We'd killed Pathfinders, Breachers, Stealth Suits with the masks, some shooting, and Fiends. Like I think our 6 block of Fiends, or 4 block at this point, came out. They would end up eventually going to the back, killing Darkstrider, taking the backfield. In his turn, he then shot the Storm Surge at Bellicor because he thought, okay, I'm killing Bellicor this turn. I was like, okay, this isn't going to go good. I only had a bit of CP, so I didn't use reroll 1s because I just thought I need my CP. So I was like, okay, there goes Bellicor. Both of his 12 damage shots wounded, his D6 plus 2 damage shot wounded, bunch of, I think it was 2 or 3 damage shots wounded, and then a few damage ones or a couple of damage ones. I think he had like 11 saves to make. Made every 4+. And I was like, whoa. I turned to my opponent, I was going, trust me, my Bellacore never does that. Not anymore. And like my Unclean one, very capable of doing it. Chilaxi was very capable of doing it. My keeper apparently incredibly capable of doing that. Bellacore never does that. And I was just like, I'm really sorry. So that was awesome. And then I end up killing the Storm Surge. I think that I killed the Storm Surge in the turn that I do bring it down. So I got the Storm Surge. Bellacore moved up, finished off Farsight, so that got me another 2 points. And then I killed a Piranha, I think, with the Keeper, maybe. Or the Devil. I killed something else. I can't remember what vehicle it was. So, yeah, we ended up then just taking the middle. Like, the Keeper eventually killed a Riptide. I think Bellacore went over, killed a Riptide, as well as 10 more Breaches. The Fat Boy held the point. And we had all the board firing at one objective. So he had one objective for the whole, for like turn 4, turn 5. He scored 10, 5, 5, 5 on his primary. And then secondaries, he only scored 11 points. He scored 5 points on Extend in round 2. And then 4 points on No Prisoners and 2 points on Engage in round 5. So we bullied him a little bit and we maxed our points. We went 146 wins. So we ended the last round like strongly. So we'd pulled back and gone back in 2-1. Byron also went 2-1. He played against, I think it was Nids. Byron is too kind the way he describes this game, so I'm not going to put words in his mouth. But simply put, he played against a guy that would show him some rules and explain the rules, but the way he explained it was incredibly wrong to the way the rule was written. His way he played rules was wrong. So basically, Byron had a pretty tough game because he had the rules watch the whole game. But he managed to pull the win out on that one, so we're both 2-1. And Josh Parry lost. He came up to me and was like, "Yeah, I lost." So his game back on, and in my head, I was like, to him, I was like, "Well, we'll see. You're still ahead." In my head, I was like, "Okay, if he can lose another game and we just keep going, we're good." So yeah, like I'm feeling pretty good. So we went back to the hotel. We had our big 6++ dinner social, and there was loads of people there. Me and Byron was there as well. We were in the same hotel, so we were talking, hanging around with American Demon player Kevin Leonard and his beautiful, wonderful wife Rebecca, who was very nice. Well, we should say that because going to get jealous because I called her beautiful, but she's very nice. And obviously, so is Kevin Leonard. I haven't even mentioned him in this video, but Kevin's awesome. And so we had our big dinner. And the pairings went up while we were eating. So the hotel was massively backed up. Sorry, the restaurant was massively backed up. So we got there, I think, about 8:30. Didn't even eat dinner until like 10. They were well behind. One of my teammates got food poisoning because I guess it got to the point where they were just quickly cooking stuff, which is not good. And as someone who is a chef, definitely a bit critical. But we're here for what happened. We're not here for cooking that weekend, so we're not getting involved. But we found out our pairings, and I felt a tap on my back, and Mr. Tom Lohman, my 6++ vice captain, Team England extraordinaire, and one writer of Goonhammer, tapped me on the back going, "Guess what, Franco? We've got each other." And I was like, yes and no, because Tom is one of my favorite people in the hobby. He's amazing. If you've ever met or know Tom Lohman, you'll know how amazing that guy is. Also, incredibly good player. And I was like, okay, great. Like if we're gonna earn this number 1 spot, we are gonna earn it. So he's running GSC. He's running the Mad Max detachment where all his vehicles and bikes get like extra OC, and I can see why people were getting good results like that, like top players. And it was gonna cause me a bit of a pain in the butt. We were on Burden of Trust, which is one of the worst missions, barring supply drop. So I knew, okay, this isn't gonna be great. We did go second, so then I had my game plan in my head. I knew that I was going to play passive, let him have a little bit of a leeway on the primary, and then just a secret mission it. As long as I didn't let him score 40 points on the primary, I knew I'd be at least partly okay, and we'll go from there. I think he figured out, because we know each other pretty well, he'd figured out my game plan probably turn 2. So I essentially let him have 8 points. I took the middle with the ground clean one. I pushed the ground clean one in the middle. He did tell me, I just want to let you know, I killed the ground clean one without any kind of issue, like last week. And I was like, oh, that's challenge accepted. So I pushed him to the middle, took that primary off him because I didn't want to give him 12 points, but I let him have 8 on either flank. And then we basically wanted to pull everything out. If I could get as much out in the open and jump on it, then that was good. And that's what happened. He was like, I've got to take the opportunity. He pulled tanks and vehicles out. Guys jumped out. The 10 brick of metamorphs jumped out. Bunch of hand flamer dudes. He took the point no matter what. Like he just didn't want to rely on killing it, but took it, but also was ready to shoot it. And I think he took him down to like 6 wounds or 5 wounds. And he was like, okay, that's a problem. And I was like, yep, that's good. That's good for me. So I then, in my turn 3 now, no, my turn 2, I think I dropped Belly, uppy down Bellacore, dropped him, dropped Crushers out, cleared a Rock Grinder and an objective, which was good for me. The Great Unclean one ended up clearing the Metamorph brick. Now, I feel really sorry for Tom, because not a lot came back in this game for him. The Metamorphs did, which is one unit he definitely wanted to come back. And one unit of Bikes did. Which it came back, but it never actually came back, and we'll get into it in a minute why it didn't. So yeah, and then the keeper actually failed a 6-inch reroll charge into a Rock Grinder on the far objective. In hindsight, best thing that could have happened, but at that time I was a bit like, fantastic. She wasn't going to kill it. Well, you might have killed it, but it would have been a struggle. Probably a couple turns to do it. But yeah, in hindsight, it was fine. In his next turn, he then obviously had that flank, which he just couldn't touch with the Crushers and Bellacore. Sorry, the Crushers. No, they didn't. What did they charge? They didn't. They tagged. Also, they got charged by the tank. I can't remember. They cleared the objective, whatever it was. I forget what it was. We were both going into this game feeling incredibly crap. We did not feel great, and we were leaning on each other, basically relying on the fact that we were mates and we knew we were going to play this game in the right spirit, no matter how we felt. But yes, so going into round 3 or end of round 3, we were jostling over the middle. He had 2 sets of 8 points. I had Nurglings in my backfield guarding. They scored me guard in my backfield for the whole game. Plague Bearers dropped down there because I wanted to keep him guessing. I would pick my secret mission and I would end up going with get Bellacore in the backfield. But also I played it either way that he didn't really know which one I was going to choose. And then the Ground King one eventually went down in round 4, but he'd taken up so much effort because he shot him again, did nothing. He healed again. And he was like, I fucking hate this. And I was, in defense, I was dicing the shit out of him. And I felt a bit bad because I was like, I'm really sorry. I was like, no. He said, I expect it from you. I was like, oh, cool. Like I said, he only got 2 units back as well. Every time he was rolling his dice, it was like, nope. I was like, oh, Tom, what is going on? So dice definitely helped a bit as well. I'm not going to lie. But also, I knew I had to play a good game to get any kind of result from this. And so I'm playing it as passive-esque as I can. We're just trying to stop him swamping the middle, which we could only do for so long. He always had that flank objective on my right hand side. He couldn't take that off him. Way too much OC on it. It was just too much to deal with, so I let him have it. In the middle, he eventually got the Ground Clean one. There was a turn my reply to him coming out to my Ground Clean one, I jumped on him with fiends, screamers, monsters. He couldn't really reply to that, so I had another turn of a wave to push. In the following turn, into turn 4, that's when his damage kicked in, and then I was losing fiends and everything really fast. He had this blip for his bike, so he put down just outside of his, or on the precipice, on the line of his deployment zone. I managed to have a 9-inch drop for my screamers. They did containment. And I guess we worked it out. He said that, so obviously, if you end a move within 9 inches of a blip, it kills it. He has a strat to then just respawn it somewhere else, as long as bikes come out of it. Apparently, when you drop reserves, like Deep Strike, it doesn't get rid of it, but he can't use the strat on it, so I did that. But he also couldn't pop the guys out of it because they couldn't come out within 9, and so they sat near the blip until his turn, basically did not let the bikes come out. So over the course of the game, he actually only got 1 unit back. And I felt really bad for him. But, it is what it is. I could not keep dealing with units coming back. And the fact that he wasn't getting any back, I had to take full advantage of that. So in my turn 4, I uppy downied, or his end of his turn 4 going into mine, I uppy downied Bellacore and the Plague Bearers, dropped them in the gap on his objective, charged the Plague Bearers through, killed the 5 auto pistol acolytes with the play bearers, tagged up the ridge runners. The keeper was also into his deployment zone, dealing with the returning metamorph unit. And then also getting into ridge runners, which had been reactive moving, running away from her for like 3 turns. So I had actually forgotten Soulstealer all game, and she survived on 2 wounds, and I needed her to survive to pull me the win out. So that was like realizing that was like I almost cost myself the game there. But he then realized, okay, in turn 4 was like, okay, it's either battle line on my object or in my deployment zone, or battle on the backfield. He then realized he still had like 3 units of battle line or 2 units of battle line in the middle, and he was like, you can't deal with them. One's in a tank, one's nowhere near anything else. And he was like, so I think you've gone with Be'lakor. I was like, I don't know. Obviously we went with Be'lakor, but he was like, he looked at it and he was like, in the position Be'lakor was in, the keeper was blocking anything from getting round an angle to him. There was a rock grinder, but it was only going to get a las cannon shot off at him or whatever. And the screamers were in front of him, so he couldn't actually charge it. He was like, okay, Be'lakor's untouchable. All I can do is try and kill what's on the backfield. He couldn't. I still had like 8 plate bearers on the backfield. The keeper just survived, holding off a rock grinder, stopping that from getting onto the objective. And then I knew that I needed to pass the back shot, which she did, thankfully, and then fall back. So I just didn't give him a chance to have a free kill on her, and then piling on and putting an extra 6 OC on the backfield. I don't think that gave him it either way, but I just didn't want to risk it. Be'lakor went back, killed a ridge runner, took the objective, and we won 82-73. So absolutely immense game, top quality game. He brought the best out of me. And I was just so determined I wasn't losing that game. Halfway through that game, I wanted to slap him. Josh Parry had come up to me and was like, oh, by the way, I'm 2-2. Like, so it's all yours now. And at first, because obviously we had the issue with someone distracting me round 1, I was like, go away, do not distract me. And then it clicked what he said, and I was like, okay. And I can't lie, that did light the fire up underneath me to keep going and push for the win, which we got. So now I'm 3-1. Josh is now 2-2. So I was like, okay, now we're in a really good position. Yeah? And Byron was also 3-1. He'd gone into an orc matchup. I can't remember the specifics of it. I know they had some clock things, but his opponent seemed really nice. He really harped on how great his opponent was. So that was awesome. They had a great game. So me and Byron now 3-1. We were talking, and it was like, Byron was like, we're going to get each other, and it's going to be like a title decider. And I was like, that is the only way this should end. And I did want that. It didn't happen, but I really wish it had. That would have been a great way to end it. So we then got our round 5 pairings. He had drawn into Dark Angels, James Shapiro, who's a pretty good player. And I drew Imperial Guard. And when I found out it was Imperial Guard, I was like, oh, how many Borgrin? No Borgrin. So I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it doesn't mean it's an easy matchup, but I can deal with no Borgrin. And so I played against Niall, who was an absolute gentleman. My favorite ending game for LGT I've had. And if it wasn't for the fact that I'd played Tom, that would probably be my favorite game. So he had 2 Rogel Dawns, 2 Lehman Russ Executioners, 2 Sentinels, which were a pain in my ass for the whole game. A block of 20 dudes, a block of 10 dudes with Solar, 2 units of 10 Scions with command squads in each. I think that might have been it. I want to say there was something else, but I think that might have been it. And then I think there were some characters in the big squad as well. So we were playing on Scorched Earth on, I believe it was. So burning objectives, I went second, so that was good. Now, I can't lie, I was incredibly nervous in this game. I had, there was like, I think I played it a little bit too safe because I just didn't want to make too many mistakes. I made this game harder than it could have been. Not to take nothing away from Niall, he played fantastic. He said to me, I just came for 2 and 3. I'm not a 3-1, 4-1, 3-2, 4-1 player. He played like it. He said, I just want to outdo my mate. I just want to outdo my mate. They were both sitting on 3-1. I think his mate lost, so he was like, okay, like I still want to win it, but we'll see. So yeah, like he played it fantastic. He moved up me amazingly. It was a very hectic game. So I'm just going to quickly run through it and then talk about the last bit, because the last bit I'm going to talk about a mistake I made and then how I made the game harder and what it came down to me winning it. So he had essentially pushed out his sentinels because he just wanted to block me, and he did it very well. One of them I knew I couldn't deal with without putting something forward, like the ground clean one. I just didn't want to do that, so I let it sit there for a turn. The other one, I shot with Belloc on the ground clean one, brought it down to wounds. I had the 6 fiends, which I was going to charge into it. Because of the way the charge was, I could leave one guy back and then pull back behind the terrain, back within Bellacor's range and within 6 inches within the on the objective. Failed the 6-inch charge. I think I rerolled it and failed it again. I was like, oh, great, that's not good. So these sentinels proceeded to keep blocking me. I then got one of them, which then came back, and again, we will go into the end of the game how it did cause me an issue. The other one, the ground clean one, just couldn't kill it, and then decided to just absolutely punt it off the board the next turn. So I was like, okay, that was a turn too late. But we did get into the middle. He had an execution that came out, and so I was like, okay, this is the turn where I need to now just grab him. So the mask, being the hero she is, she charged the Rogaldon that was sat just behind a bit of terrain, so stopping it from being able to fall back, stopping it from being able to get any kind of angles on anything important. She accepted the loss. She did give the keeper +1 to wound on the executioner. I charged it, multi-charged that and 10 scions with 6 crushes from Bellacor's drop. Now his objective on the right hand side, I wanted to try and deny it and just knock 5 points of his primary. And normally I would. Again, this is my problem with the list, is I felt like I missed that 1 unit to do it. I almost did that with Bellacore on the Crushers and decided not to. I feel like I probably should have, but at the same time, I feel like stopping the Scions on the other end, allowing me to have my objective, was probably a little bit more important. So I took 5 wounds off the Lima Rust with charge. Didn't need to. The keeper got +1 the wound, proceeded to do like 18 wounds to it, or 18 damage to it, not wounds, 18 damage to it. So he punted it off, and I was like, cool, her damage has now kicked in, awesome. And she was fantastic in that game. So because I had the Lehman Rust tagged up, because I had the Rogaldon tagged up, the other Rogaldon was on the back on the other side of the other side objective, and the other executioner was right at the back of the board. I knew my big guys were all safe; they couldn't be touched. He then shot at my crushers, took them down to like 2 guys. Again, picked off like my fiends, like most of my fiends. I still had 2 fiends of the unit of. What happened to the? Oh, sorry, the unit 6 came down, dealt with the Sentinel, finished it off before it came back again. Tagged up Gaunt's Ghost and killed them in the next turn, and then forced him to have to deal with them, which he did with the Rust, but the Dawn down in the bottom. And then he had moved some Scions up. The keeper, I got Assassinate, so she went in, killed the character in that, plus the unit, or most of the unit, and then finished off him 4. And then my 2 fiends I had 3 fiends. He'd shot them a bit, knocked them down to 2. That was when I went into the middle with the keeper. They ran forward, tagged the Ross again. Tagged the Dawn again and the Ross at the same time. So again, he couldn't move them to shoot at my monsters. So I still had my monsters playing my last round. So we played that quite well. We charged the Crusher down, cleared the other unit of 10 dudes he had that was sitting around the objective. And so at this point, we were in a good position. Now, in round 4, I was going to bring my Screamers that sat at the backfield doing some scoring stuff, like containment and stuff like that. Burn the objective in round 4, and then that way I didn't have to deal with it for the rest, like, that was done. For some reason, I talked myself out of it. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it round 5. The only thing he could have done is he had no guys that could have got to them. No tanks had, nothing could get angles on them. He had 1 mortar. 1 mortar is literally physically impossible to kill 3. So, for some reason, I don't know why I talked myself out of it. I didn't do it. I should have done it. Because going into round 5, he had burnt the objective. So one of the Sentinels came back. It was now burning that objective, causing me an issue. And I was like, I knew these guys were going to cause me issues. And so we were going into the round. We knew we were going to get 15 points, 10 for primary, 5 for burn. We drew into Overwhelming Force and Engage. Engage on 4 was fine. We had that done. But just Overwhelming Force was like, that's not great. So in hindsight, if I'd burnt the objective like I should have with the Screamers, like I was going to, I already had the Keeper in the middle. That means I have shadows everywhere. I picked up the Unclean one and the Plague Bearers. That doesn't change. They drop behind the Sentinel and the Rust. Damn it, the Dawn. Sorry, I keep calling it Rust. The Dawn that was sitting on the objective. I get the a 5-inch charge and a 6-inch charge in. The Keeper can come down instead and go into the Dawn. And then we have multiple chances to get a force. No stress. Done. Game's dealt with. Instead, because we didn't burn, we didn't have shadows in the middle naturally because I had actually moved off the objective with the Unclean one to kill the Sentinel, and Be'lakor had gone forward to do some shooting, and because he was in a safe spot outside of inches from anything that damage to him. So because we didn't have the objective, which again was a misplay on my half, yeah, we caused ourselves issues. And again, because I've gone into it, because pressure is a real thing, right? Not all of us play perfect games of 40k. We are all capable of letting pressure get to us, and the pressure got to me. I was playing a bit too safe. I was making decisions that I shouldn't have made, like not pulling the Screamers up. I can't reiterate how damaging that almost was, because it really was. So because of that, I had then spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out how do I play this turn. And I was like a 3-inch deep, so my Plague Bearers onto his objective because there was a gap. And then I have to throw Be'lakor forward, throw the Unclean one, shoot into the unit on the back, which was sitting on 4 OC a model. They had a 5 up front of pain or whatever. And I was like, I'll have to try and kill enough of these, not just to take the objective, but also if I could try and get Overwhelming Force. Because again, it was like, if I give him the burn, I have to try and get a 10-point burn. And then we realize, shit, I can't double burn this turn. Again, another problem. So I was like, oh, so now I can't literally do that. So essentially decided to get rid of Overwhelming Force because I was just like, I'm not going to kill anything with objectives. So I now was down to 0 CP. We redrew into Sabotage, which was okay, I guess. So what we did was, because again, the Keeper could have got round and could have got to the objective, killed the Sentinel, and then I would have, or at least taken the objective, it would have been fine. Except when he had moved his 20-man brick up to charge, just to try and bog stuff down, not realizing he would kill the Crushers and Fiends in one turn, the rest of them with his shooting. He had inadvertently left them close enough to the wall where she could go through the wall, except when she, not go through the wall, go around the wall, but when she had to make the pivot, he was like an eyelash of an inch within within engagement range, and it was literally there was no less of a gap he could have left and not had me within not being able to get through. And so I was like, oh, that's really gutting that I can't get through on that side. I obviously can't rely on the Keeper killing the Rust. Not that it would have done me anything really. So yeah, I was like, okay, I don't know. I think I might have screwed this up. And so basically, I decided to throw the Keeper to get me engaged. He couldn't really do anything. And then I pulled down the Great Unclean one. He dropped onto the objective and a bit of terrain. Sabotage, spat out the Plague Bearer 6 inches, and then essentially it was down to can the Plague Bearers drop, not be killed on Overwatch? And he overwatched a couple of times and it was pretty good for the game. He killed a few Plague Bearers in Overwatch with the Rogue Dawn. I was like, okay, I've still got enough to do my thing, that's fine. So I was like, I have a 5-inch charge and no CP. That is a recipe for disaster. I had to make this charge, otherwise I lose. Made it, and I was sitting there going, why have I made this game so hard for myself? But I'm stressing out. My opponent was laughing because he knew how important this was, and he was like, I don't know if he realized the mistake I'd made, but he then heroicked the Leman Russ in, and I was like, if I can kill 2 guys with the Sentinel and kill 1 more guy with the Russ in combat, he goes, I will take it back again. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, there was literally nowhere else I could have gone to get on the objective outside of engagement range or 6 inches, allowing him to get the heroic. I couldn't stop it. He had no CP though, so he couldn't do tank shock or anything. Not that I don't. Can you even do tank shock on your opponent's turn? I don't know. Either way, it didn't matter. His Sentinel attacked, did nothing, and I was like, oh. And so we pulled the game out, 81-78. But Niall played it fantastic. Like I said, if I could have played, I played it very safe during the game because I just didn't want to make any colossal mistake that would cost it. And then on top of that, literally all I do is I don't have to even roll dice. I just move the screamers 14 inches. They burn. They are literally untouchable apart from one mortar, which is not doing anything. I burn that objective. I have shadows naturally in the middle. I drop down the Great Unclean one. I drop down the 6 Plague Bearers because they can now fit in the gap, which I couldn't, and I had no speed to 3-inch deep strike, so they could get in the 6-inch gap, just not the 9-inch. I get 2 chances to launch onto the middle. I can then double charge the Great Unclean one and the Keeper into the Rust, maybe kill it. I can keep Overwhelming Force at that point. And then and it just cost me like it was just I almost cost myself the game because again the pressure got to me and I was playing it a bit too safe. And then at the end I was like, why didn't I move the screamers up? Like I literally was going to and then talk myself out of it. I was like, so there's a lesson. Try not to let pressure get to you because it definitely can. In that situation where it's a very high stakes important game, it can definitely get to you, and it did for me. Almost cost me the game, but we managed to pull it out in the end. So we finished 4-1, which I was chuffed with. I definitely felt like I'd earned it. Josh had gone 2-3. He lost his third game, so he capitulated after round 2. So I was like, okay, cool. Now there is a chance that I can actually win this thing. It is still going to come down to can I score 21 points above my lowest score, finishing 86th out of 835 people. That is definitely possible. Like last year's 86th finisher at LGT scored 145, which would only give me 14 points. But there's an extra 100 people, and I've sat there to try to work it out. It's very hard to work it out, but I think it might work. It's either going to be a couple points short or a couple points over. And we're talking because we haven't even mentioned Byron yet. Byron lost. I can't remember. I know it went a bit dicey for him. It just didn't go his way. James just had a turn where he just killed more than Byron expected him to, and then it just went bad. Shalaxi went down a bit too fast. And once Shalaxi goes down in that matchup, his damage is the same as mine, and you struggle because you can't kill anything. So, or not enough to make a difference. So Byron went 3-2, Josh went 2-3, and I finished 4-1. So incredibly good weekend. We now actually have the chance of winning it. Like I said, we won't find out until, I don't know, whenever Zach decides to do, I think he does like an end of season podcast where he goes through the winners, but also releases it at the same time on the UKTC. We did score our points on ITC, and I got like 223 for it. I'm trying to still find any events that have similar numbers. There isn't. So I'm sitting there trying to work it out. The wait is agony, but this is the best chance we've ever had at going to win it. We actually have the chance. So we will see. It's either going to miss out by a few points or win it by a few points. I see it's going to go either way. So my favorite game of the weekend was against Tom. Of course it was. Me and Tom wanted to play each other again for years. We have not played for quite a long time. Maybe during COVID, I think last time. Might have even still been Fat Frank then, not S Fat Frank. Can't even remember. It was so long ago. But my game with Niall as well was amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better opponent to end the weekend with. He was an absolute gentleman. He actually gave me a bit of a nice moment because before I actually went into my turn 5, he stopped the game. He was like, look, just want to say, he put his hand out, he just said, no matter what happens, you've been an absolute pleasure to play. I couldn't have asked for a better ending to the weekend. And I, shared the sentiment. I said, you know what, me too. Like, you're a gentleman. And it was a great game. And to be honest, I had a fine weekend. I had no issues. My first game with that Battle Shock issue was a bit of a thing. My opponent's very pessimistic outlook on the game and a bit of a biased recounting was a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. Like, he was fine. Like, he was fine either way. And again, just fine. My 4 round 4 opponent, round 3 opponent, Jack, I think he was just so tired and he just saw the game just going very badly for him. He was just like, done. But yeah, so great weekend. Finishing Form 1 was awesome. There was a couple like 3-5-0 lists in the top bracket as well for Demons. Obviously, Manny was. We're not even going to talk about that. Mark Pocock on Pure Nurgle was as well, which was awesome. And then another list that had 2 Soul Grinders, which makes you can't run Soul Grinders on UKTC terrain seem a bit almost redundant. I still don't change that sentiment. But yeah. So, yeah, Form 1, I'm incredibly happy with it. List changes, I wish I had 3 units of 3 instead of 6 and 3. And then I had 105 points plus 10 extra points from my list to do something with. Maybe more play bearers, give me kind of just denial and screening. I wish I had 3 flamers over 3 screamers. I still have 2 units of 3 screamers, but then have an extra unit of have a unit of flamers over one of the unit of screamers because I always deep shock one of them, so that would just replace that. The other than the GSC matchup, that would have been incredibly handy to have. So they're the outright changes I can think of. The keeper was great. Her killing power struggled though. In the last round, she didn't. But she didn't die all weekend. She was immense. She was a constant threat, which was awesome. The great unclean one. The game against Adam in round 2, he fell over. Apart from that, he was amazing, especially against Tom. That was his best game. And then Be'lakor was fine as well. Be'lakor had a great weekend. The Crushers were phenomenal. The Fiends could have definitely done a lot better. Playbearers were good. Nurglings, for 40 points, they're unassuming. If they do anything, fine. And the Nurglings were handy to have. And the Screamers were fine as well. And they score points. So I don't hate the list overall. We obviously have the balance data slate coming up, which we don't know when that's coming. There was rumors of this week. Well, I'm filming on Thursday. It hasn't come out. So I'm going to guess probably next Thursday. But we'll see. I don't know what we're going to get in that. I don't see us getting many positive changes, if any. I do think they're going to look at the Endless Gift Ground Clean one. Hopefully they don't touch Ground Clean ones because they're fine where they are. They don't need point rises. But I can see the Endless Gift going up 20 points. I, for some reason, see Blood Crushers going up as well. Not that I think they need to, but I think Thunderwolf Cavalry are going up. And how dare we also have our own cavalry. So they're probably going to go up as well. Because GW don't like demons. But we will see. I'm hoping, I just want to see a bunch. I would like to see Chilaxi come down a little bit, 25, 30 points. And then I would love to see most of the battle line come down. I want to see Demons at 80 points, Bloodletters are 100 points, Blue Horrors are 95, Pink Horrors are 125, Plague Bearers are fine where they are. Maybe knock 5 points off Nurglings. If they don't, they don't. That's where I think there's not really much else without actually giving us rules, which we don't know if we're getting. There's not much else you can do because, we are where we are now, I think. So I think battle line is the issue. That is our issue now. Change the battle line up, give us cheaper battle line because our battle line is way too expensive. Also, subductors, which are the new agents Imperium unit that other Imperial armies can take. 10 guys, T3, 3 up armor, 4 up in 1. Their combat's not amazing or anything like that. But I'm like, look at Demonettes and I go, yeah, their combat's half decent for what they are. But I'm paying 100 points for a T3, 5 up in 1 Gel. Yes, they're fast. Yes, their combat can put out, but no, they should be 80 points. I think Subductor's 65 points as well. So yeah, Demon should need to go to 80 points, maybe even 70, but that's probably too big of a drop. 80 points, 100 points for Bloodletters, and then I actually think I would look at just running a bunch of them. Because I want to run a horde list. I'm bored of monsters and MSU. I want to run a bunch of battle line. But yeah, so that was the weekend. We will obviously keep everyone updated on how we got on in the UKTC rankings. Fingers crossed we can cross that line and finally get it. And then push for the ITC because we can't let Kevin Lennon. I'm not going to let it happen. Yeah, so thank you for tuning in. It's gone longer than I wanted. It is what it is. As always, leave a like and subscribe. Just take a few seconds. It's free and it helps the channel out massively. Thank you as well to everyone that came up and showed their appreciation for the channel. LGT, it meant a lot. It always does. Like I said, sitting here talking about demons to a camera, talking about me playing with my little plastic demons, for that to actually be helpful for the people is just nuts. So I really appreciate all the support I get. Keep up to date, Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for tuning in. We will catch you all in the next one.